Good thing I could read quick.
I hope we're not live right now because well, I think we
Oh,
are
yeah.
live. Let's kick this off. All right, here we are, episode number 7, Friday, December 1st, in the year of
I'm
our
actually
Lord
here.
2023.
I'm actually here today. You don't have to use my voice. That's awesome. Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
I didn't. I had a lot of people fooled too, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, you sounded dead on. Yeah, I was listening to that going, wow, is that me? What was that?
Oh
All
man,
right, so we ready to kick this bad boy off?
I think so. What do we got?
Episode 7. All right, so let's get ready to rumble. All right, so we got a pretty good show today. Unfortunately, we don't have a guest speaker today. They're going to be on next week, which is good. But we do have some really good information that we're going to cover on this week's episode. All right, so as always, what do we always have? Trek violations.
Mm.
Oh boy. And I read it through a couple of these things for the show, and pretty practical too. That's the scary part about it. All right, what's happening in real estate? We've got kind of a different segment there. We got some really cool tips and some news that just came out, right, Jeff?
Oh yeah,
Some good pointers.
got some good points.
Agent tips of the week. I love the agent tips of the week. Those are always something that kind of brings a reality to what we're doing out in the field. So I love those tips. And then, of course, ask Steve some questions. And guess who's going to help me today? Mr. Bobble Boy. Don't ever forget the old
Oh
Bobble.
yeah.
And, of course, the agent spotlight. So we're going to find out who that agent is. So let's kick us off, Jeff, with what do we got?
Okay. Well, I think I hit the wrong button. I think I
I was
should
going
have
to say, I was like, wait a minute, what segment are we in, man? I'm confused.
Let's try this button. Boom!
Boom, that's the one we're looking for.
There
Now
we
Bubble's
go.
back in it. Here we go. Even scared him.
Ah,
All right, so we got some violations we're going to cover. So, violation number 1, what do you got out there, Jeff?
okay. Well, this violation comes back at acting negligent and incompetently by failing to provide the keys to the buyers of the property. So this is kind of a little bit of a unique one. This is on a new build. The agent representing the builder let the buyer know that they were still short about $1,000 on upgrades. Well, the closing date came and went, and the agent basically was trying to still get the upgrade money by holding onto the keys, and that's where she made a mistake.
All right, so let me get this right. This is kind of a confusing one. I mean, I'm even reading this thing. Oh wait, what? All right, so respondent acted negligently, which obviously means bad idea, right? Incompetently
Mhm.
by failing to provide the keys to the buyers of the property. So why are they withholding the keys? Because they didn't get the update or the upgrades that they wanted.
So they still hadn't paid for just over $1,000 of upgrades.
Mhm.
So what I mean, the agent obviously didn't include that or didn't put that on an addendum to take or to resolve that before closing.
Oh, I get it. So what happened was they didn't resolve the issue before it closed. They should have got the $1,000 before it closed. Since it did close, the agent felt like they still owed the money, so they didn't have the actual possession of the property. So she withheld them from possession. And in the contract, it
Yes.
says closing and funding. And so the agent stepped in and provided keys to the buyer. But once the transaction closed, keys belonged to the buyers, so the disagreement over the payment for upgrades was now a civil matter because it was after the fact. And so that's why it's always good to negotiate prior to closing. That's always a good thing because once it closes, we don't get back involved. And what happened to them? Sounds like a
Actually, the broker stepped in and said, "Hey, we can't do that." Gave the keys to the buyers, but the agent, she did get a complaint filed against her, and so she had a $500 administrative penalty, and basically learned that, after it closes, it is possession of the. I mean, it's the buyer's house at that point, and it's a civil matter if they need to try to resolve it.
well, the good thing is the broker stepped in and did the right thing, so that was
Yeah.
good. But I would think that'd be a higher administrative penalty, $500.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's kind of like keeping you out of your own house. That's kind of weird. That's like the reverse of false imprisonment. It's like, wait a minute here, what are you doing? These are my keys. Wow, that's an
Yeah.
interesting one. That's a real different one. All right, violation 2. What do we got on this one? This one is just as scary or as
Um,
close.
well, I guess this one was included because it, this one wasn't a real estate violation at all. This person had a occupational license in another field. It happens to be a chiropractic license in California in a different state. And because that person got a probation on their chiropractic license, they basically, Trek said that this person does not possess the requisite honesty, trustworthiness, integrity to qualify for a real estate sales license, and ended up getting her license suspended for 5 years.
Wow. So even whatever license you have, if they ask if you've had any license violations or any dings against your license when they ask you for your background or renewals. So that's interesting. Even a chiropractic license. So
Yeah,
whatever license you got, if you have anything against it. So they actually lost their license for 5 years. Wow.
5 years.
So that's a,
That's
so when they
yeah.
ask
So
the simple question, be honest. And I wonder what would happen if they were honest on that. What do you think? Do you think they would have still gave him a license, or do you just think that they would have just said, "Hey, look, all right, I understand you got a ding in that line of work, but you're still trustworthy enough for this line of work"? I wonder how that would have worked out.
Well, I'm just wondering what caused her to lose her chiropractic license. Yeah, I mean, it probably might have something to do with it. I'm not sure, but
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Maybe it had to do with something like fraud or misrepresentation or something to have to do with money issue, commingling or something. So yeah, that's true. It might have been why they lost that license too. So
yeah.
interesting. Huh. All
But
right.
it's just interesting that they can, this has nothing to do with the real estate, but your honesty, your integrity could be still in question, even if it's
Well,
something outside of real estate.
a lie is a lie, right? If I
Yeah,
can't trust you to be a chiropractor license, how can we trust you to have a license? So, I mean, I see their point. Absolutely. It's
yeah,
pretty wild.
yeah.
All right. We got another violation. Violation 3. This one looks like it's a little bit more probably common.
Yeah, so here's another situation where it takes one small little complaint, and then Trek gets involved, digs into it, and finds other stuff.
Yeah.
This one, the agent simply didn't include an addendum per the contract, and ended up finding out that she didn't have representation agreement for the buyer, for the seller, for the intermediary piece of it. So all of that, it just all came to a head.
It's like I teach people in class. I said, you might miss one thing, but if they ask to see the transaction, that doesn't stop them from finding other violations. So this just started off with failed to complete an attached addendum. Next thing you know, they look into the file, then they find out that they didn't give this form, and this form. that turned out to be a train wreck. I mean, that's a lot of violations
Yeah,
all of a sudden. So it looks to me like they got a pretty good penalty for that.
they did $1,500 and then an additional 30 hours in contract law.
Wow.
Mm.
So, again, paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. And obviously, Trek requires us to keep that paperwork for 4 years, statute of limitations for Trek. But I mean, that just goes to show you if you miss one thing, you might get away with it one time, but all it takes is one complaint, right? That's all it's going to take. And then they're going to dig in and probably find, well, it looks to me like they found about 3 or 4 other violations along with that. So that's pretty wild.
Right.
Wow. All right. Violation 4. This one looks like it's a little complicated.
Yeah. I mean, actually, it's pretty simple. Basically, the agent executed a lease and allowed the tenants to occupy the property before collecting the security deposit, contrary to the lease. And on top of that, she failed to inform the owners that no security deposit was collected.
Wow. So let's see here. Respondent executed a lease, allowed the tenants to occupy the property before they collected the security deposit. So that's a breach of lease right there, right? Because they should have security deposit before they move in. Contrary to the contract, so that's basically they should have abided by the contract. And respondent failed to inform the owners that no security deposit was collected. So they should have probably been disclosing to those landlords that they haven't received the actual security deposit, and that probably would have been a good time to write a addendum, right? To
Right.
either A, the contract, or B, at least keep them informed that, hey, the tenant could pay, but they're just behind right now. Can we go ahead and write a addendum and maybe have them pay the security deposit 2 weeks later or whatever have you? Wow. So that's failure to communicate. An agent was required to pay security deposit out of pocket to the owners.
Mm.
So there's one expense. And then basically the penalty was what, $2,500 penalty, no prior complaints, and they have to go take a property management class. So
Yep.
so that's just a simple error right there. If you say you're going to do it, do it. That sounds to me like a false promise too, right? Hey, we're going to follow through with this. They don't follow through, and we fail to disclose. That's probably more common than we think.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I could see that definitely slipping through the cracks. Wow. All right. Well, violation number 5 don't look too good either. That's violation number 5.
So this one, the agent failed to let the owner know before allowing a person to spend the night in a
Oh.
vacant property, which
Oh yeah, I spend the night. I'm going to Airbnb it for you. Does that even make any sense? All right, so respondent acted negligently or incompetent by failing to obtain consent from the owner before allowing a person to spend the night at a vacant property. I wonder if that person was going to buy the property. I mean, why would they just spend the night in a vacant property? So yeah, no, don't worry about it. It's vacant. Just go ahead and stay there. Yeah, that sounds like a trespassing, doesn't it? And
yeah, she got
agents don't
hit
have a
hard. License
yeah.
suspension for 2 years
Oh my
and a
gosh.
$2,000 penalty.
So, so basically, she acted like she had authority to allow somebody to do something too. So that's obviously acting as authority that you don't have. A license suspended for 2 years for
Two
letting somebody
years.
stay in a vacant home, and $2,000 penalty, no prior complaints. Wow. So yeah, I don't think I'd ever think to do that. How about you?
There's probably a little bit more to the story. Maybe they were
Yeah.
buying it. It's under contract. The buyer is excited. You know what? Hey, Bob, go ahead, spend the night there. I know you're excited, and it probably was something like that.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking it through, and I'm thinking maybe it was a temporary lease, supposedly, or that it should have been a temporary lease, before they moved in. But I can't figure for the life of me to say, hey, that house is fake. Just go ahead and sleep in the house. Not a big deal. So I'm pretty sure there's probably something more to it. But wow, that's pretty good to that's pretty big punishment for doing something like that. 2 year suspension and a $2,000 penalty. Wow, that's amazing. Man, I read through some of these violations. You look at them and go, "Wow." You hear about things out in the field, but do they really happen? Yeah, they're right there, right? And
Yeah.
these are public knowledge. I mean, anybody going to read these things? That's a scary part of it. When you look up these violations, does it say their name, or does it
Oh
say their?
yeah. I
It
mean,
says,
just for example, I've got this one here pulled up now, and this is the number 5, and it here it is right here.
"Oh wow." So it actually says their name. It
Oh
tells you
yeah.
the real estate broker's number. So I mean that's on public records, and some of these violations can stay on your record 6 months to 10 years. So wow. So you can actually read through all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's a double whammy right there.
That
So
is.
does it also tell you the violations, all the violations that were? Yep, there it is. That's what I
Oh
thought.
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
All this, yeah, conclusions of the law, what statutes or codes they break, and then
Wow.
the order.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, I get a lot of people that ask me in class where we can actually find these violations. It's right there on the Trek website, right? Just pull it right up and you can read
Yeah.
right through it. The good thing is, though, if you ever do get a complaint, it does not show up on that you have a complaint. It's only if there's something that happens due to the complaint, disciplinary action or something. So if you think it can't happen in real estate, think again, right? Think again. All right. Ooh.
Oh, what's this? Could it be? Could it be what's in the news?
I believe so. What's happening in real estate? All right, Jeff. We pulled up some pretty cool stuff in the news this week, and we're gonna have you explain the first one, Texas Realtor website.
Yeah, here we've got the Texas Realtor website, and there's actually quite a bit on here, and the reason we kind of brought this in to the news or the update was we had a good tip from an agent about what some of this website offers, and there's just a whole bunch of information on here. Here's a good story article about termination beyond the buyer approval deadline, or about leaving, you know, sections blank on the contract. There's just a lot of good stuff on here.
I think a lot of people overlook the fact that we have a lot of good information available to us, not only on the Texas Realtor website, but also the Trek website. And I think we can, that's where a lot of this information, if you ever have any questions, you can definitely go onto the website and there's facts and there's, Q&As on there that answer a lot of your questions as well.
Yeah,
So this one actually came from the Texas Realtor website, didn't it?
it sure did. Yeah,
One of the blogs,
sure
I
did.
believe. So it says
Yeah,
advice
like the,
for realtors. So
huh?
which one that's just basically the page you pull up and there's a whole bunch of different articles that you can pick from.
Yeah, like for example, here this page right here, great article. What happens when a contract term is left blank? You know, if you have, like, and think you had mentioned this in one of your classes the other day about if it's blank, it's going to be left up to the court to determine what, if it's ambiguous, legally ambiguous, the court's got to decide what's going to go in that blank.
So you're
Is
talking
this
about
even
like the
valid?
execution date. So like an execution date or something like that. If it's left blank, we don't have any time frames. So yeah, that's a really good article right there.
Yeah.
They also have another article about, option periods, stuff like that. What would happen if you wanted to extend the option period? Where's the option money go? Um, they also got a really good one here too. When a buyer client makes an offer on multiple properties at once, what should you do? Unfortunately, we're not really in a multiple offer as much as we were in the past, but are they going to pop up again? Absolutely. I think a lot of people got themselves in some trouble, let's put it that way, of not handling the multiple offers right. So, that is a good website to go to check out some of this stuff. Calculating earnest money and
Yeah.
option deadline. I mean, this is great,
This is good stuff.
and And a lot of this stuff you probably learned in real estate at school, but you probably forget it as you're going. So it's always good to refresh as well.
Right.
So we actually, the advice for the realtor's webpage is a great place to go look just for a refresher, is what I would think. I think I get a question a lot of times about, what happens if the term of the contract's blank. If you look at it, the executed date is on page 9. As long as it's offer acceptance and communicated, you're under a contract and both parties have signed, right? So if you don't execute the contract, it doesn't mean you don't have a contract. It just means you don't have any time frames. And so next thing you know, you look at it and go, "Hey, I need to get a survey in 7 days. 7 days from where?" And so that's when, like you were saying, that's when the courts step in and go, "Oh, wait a second here. We got to figure out some timelines here." And so that could really mess up a contract. And I think a lot of people don't understand. I'll even take it even further. Whenever you have a blank, within blank days, how are those actually counted? Those are counted as they default to calendar days. So I think a lot of people
Oh,
overlook that.
yeah.
So when people put things in those blanks, they go 2 days and it's a Friday. Like, I go, "Why'd you put 2 days or calendar days?" And so, I've actually had situations to where, especially like commercial is pretty common, that if the buyer and the seller agree, they can actually agree upon changing those blank calendar day countings to business days. And sometimes that might make sense. Have you ever had that happen, Jeff? You
No,
change,
I haven't had that happen.
and if you look at it, it makes sense because if you have a 14-day calendar day, and that's almost 2 weeks, right? There's 2 weekends right there. That's 4 days. So if you look at it as business days, that can actually add a little bit of time onto your counting as well. So see what I mean? So that's good information to go and just reinnovate what you've learned. 'Cause
Now
we-
here's one that if you're on the buyer side, it's
yeah.
nice to leave blank, right?
Well, that just means you can object anytime prior to closing. Yeah. So if that line's blank, then that could lead into an objection problem, and they can object anytime. But it's not a good idea to put residential use, right?
And that's why that is there, because we see that quite a bit,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't make sense.
Especially if you're writing on a residential contract. If you're writing on a residential contract, why would you object to its use? That doesn't make any sense, right? So
Hmm.
obviously that's what you're going to use the property for. So residential use, not a good idea. Another thing too is if you can't find something to put in that blank, you don't have to make something up. Just put NA,
Hmm.
right? Move on. You don't have to make things up. So yeah, that's a good point too. And sometimes, just to go back onto the blank, some people put things in blanks that don't even belong there.
Yeah,
All right. So we also got another article that you pulled up on Californians flocking to Texas.
yeah, they're still doing it. They are.
And we found that, and you found that on the Texas Realtor website too, right?
That's
More
right.
information
Yeah.
right there. So I've noticed over the last couple months that there are a lot of people coming from other states, but it seems like California seems to be the main focal point of where they're coming from.
And I don't know
And
why.
I have no idea, but um, I'm glad they're making it to Texas because that's definitely helping us out, right? We need to sell some houses. So come on, everybody. So what's that? Did you get a chance to read this article?
Yeah, but I've slept since then. So
Oh, I was just wondering how many actually people are moving from California to Texas. I was just kind of wondering if there was a number in there.
yeah, there is a number in here. Here he is. I mean, in excess of over 100,000, 128,000. Now, the reason I thought this was a good idea to talk about is that when you've got a listing, you've got a property, man, it doesn't hurt to run a Facebook ad and run it, target it in California.
Yeah.
Run it out there because people are moving, they're looking at Texas properties, and boom, they see your listing on Facebook. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking at that paragraph right there too, and it's also saying people from Florida and Colorado as well seem to be a big
Yes.
a mass
Those
exodus out
those
of
are the
there
top
too.
three.
Wow. So the top three: California, Florida, and Colorado. They seem to be coming.
Colorado.
So that's
Yeah.
not a bad idea to focus your marketing in that direction.
Yeah.
That's good. That's real good to know.
Especially if you have, land. Those ones are Californians are selling their 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for $1 million, and they got some extra money.
Yeah. And they think they come out here and buy a 20-acre parcel and they're buying it for, a couple $100,000. They get, oh my gosh, this is great. So yeah, they got money to cash out and buy in. So that's good. So yeah, that's not a bad idea to focus your marketing towards people who are actually coming from. So
Yeah.
I didn't know there were so many people. I didn't know there was
Yeah.
107. That's a eye opener. That's a year.
Yeah. I think it
That's a year.
equates to 450 families a day.
Wow.
Mm.
That's amazing. That's a lot of people.
Oh,
Man.
what was that?
Oh.
I think we got time for a quick little sponsor.
Right.
And of course, we have one of our premier sponsors. And if I could share this, Handyman Plus, he actually bailed me out just the other day. We had a sump pump, brand new home. No, I'm sorry, pre-owned home, brand new buyer. Do the walkthrough. Everything's working. Moves in the next day, and the sump pump don't work. So
Oh no.
he came out, fixed it up, and just charged a great price, very good, and got the work done. And nobody was upset.
We actually had another agent call for an assistant with some plumbing this week too, and he was highly responsive, and they're going to go out and do the repair in the wall. So that's pretty good.
Yeah,
So
that's
not
great.
only is he good at what he does, but he's quick. That's what we need in this business. So
Yeah,
all right,
absolutely. All right, what do we got next?
we got another.
What's next here? Violation.
Agent tip of the week.
Oh,
I think it's agent tip of the week.
Okay. All right. Well, went on a little long.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know. All right, so we got an agent tip of the week. All right, so tip comes from Tina in Irving, Texas. I was going to say Irving, California. You got California on my mind, man. All right, so tip comes from Tina. She says Tina wants to share about her experience with wire fraud. Now, that's a big topic. What do you think? We actually have a wire fraud notice that we give people because wire fraud is one of the biggest things going on right now. That, these title companies, when they send you wiring instructions, please make sure you verify before you send, because that's where wire fraud comes from. Her buyer received an email to wire the money to a title company 3 days in advance and learned the email was not from the title company. Ouch. So I believe that she shared an article with us as well, right? And
Yeah.
the article got pulled up behind you. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, this article is just on the Texas real estate page, but this particular situation was actually on NBC5 here in Dallas. This buyer ended up wiring $40,000 for the down payment. Sat down at the closing table, and they said, "Okay, all we need is your cashier's check or wiring instructions." He said, "Oh, I've already done it." And come to find out, it was not the title company that sent him that email.
Wow. So $40,000 wired to the wrong person. What are the chances they're going to find that $40,000?
They were able to get 60% of that $40,000. That's it.
Yeah, but still 60% is a better odd than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least they got 24,000 out of it, because I've heard worst case scenarios where they'll send even more sums of money and they don't get it back at all. So,
Yeah.
that just goes back to verify, verify, verify. And, if the wiring instructions change, if you got one set of wiring instructions from the title company, then all of a sudden you get another email and it has different wiring instructions, that should be your key to say, you know what, there's something wrong. Because wiring instructions just can't change just like that. They have to shut down the whole transaction, then start it back up again to get you new wiring instructions. So as agents, that's why I love that wire notice. I tell them, verify before you call and give them a heads up that there's a possibility that somebody's going to try to scam you. And it's
Yeah.
live and what's out there.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of agents even have it on their email signature.
Yeah, they put it at the bottom of the email signature, and it's also in some of our documents, right? Like the TXR 1506, it actually says it on there, and on your buyer rep, it says it on there. Beware of wire fraud. So you're warned a few times, right? But again, you should always reinnervate it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
All right, we got another tip, don't we?
We do. This one is from Stacy in Flower Mound, and she just wanted to share about the additional discounts and savings that you can get, or that you can see on the Texas Realtor website. And there's just a bunch of stuff up here.
I think a lot of people overlook the fact that once you're a realtor, they do offer some great opportunities and some great discounts. I really do. I try to tell people all the time, check these things out. I mean, you can go into this thing and you can get, like, look at this, AAA insurance. There's
Yeah.
even car rentals.
Yeah.
I believe it's Avis car rentals, enterprise car rentals. You also get discounts on your education. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out here, DocuSign. And so that's a great tip to go in there and check this stuff out. We spend a lot of money to be a realtor, right? We spend pretty good money every year. And so might as well get a little something back out of it, right? If we can use it, why not?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
license plate.
we yeah, license plates.
What?
So it's a little. You can get a realtor license
Uh,
plate. Kind of. I love my realtor kind of thing.
that's pretty
And
cool.
yeah.
Do they
But
have anything for like cell phones or anything?
yeah, we got a little question here, real quick.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Um, I had buyer's agent transpose the option and earnest money on a contract that was executed before it was caught. What do you say about this?
All right. So that's a great question. I believe I know that little scenario right there. What happened was the buyer's agent put X amount of dollars for the option money, and it should have been the earnest money. So it was a
Oh,
substantial amount. So I'm just going to give you a rough amount what it was. Instead of putting $250 for the option money, they put $250 for the earnest and $2,500 for the option. So they got it flip flopped around, and they got underneath the contract, right? They're under contract now, and they finally realized it, and the option period's up like tomorrow. And so,
oh,
what do you think the buyer's agent's trying to do? Well, wait a minute here. I just realized that those were switched. It should have been the other way around. So now they got to write a addendum to change it. Now, let me tell you what the buyer is probably thinking. If you were the buyer at that point, what would you be thinking? Bonus. You know what I mean? And so um,
seller.
that's yeah, the seller. I'm sorry, the seller's probably going bonus. You know what I'm saying? So if you're working with on the buyer side, you're thinking cha-ching, right? That's a great idea. But if you're working on the seller side, they're thinking, or on the buyer side, they're thinking, oh, seller side, they're thinking cha-ching. And so, what do we think about that? What do you think, Jeff? Do you think that we should possibly smooth that out and have a better understanding and say, oh man, you know what, seller, this agent is a really seasoned agent. It was just transparent by accident, and they'll write an amendment to change it? Or we just kind of say, well, since you are a seasoned agent, you should know better. What do you think?
Yeah, I think. I mean, mistakes happen, and I'll tell you what. Sometimes the whether it's dot loop
Yeah.
or what's the other one? Zip forms. You know,
Yeah.
I've had it where sometimes it mixes up the listing agent and the buyer agent, and it'll modify your IABS in a heartbeat. And if you're not
Yeah.
checking everything, you're going to be sending a bad IABS, and we know that's $1,000 trek hit right there.
That's
So
right.
you have to look it over. But I realize, I mean, we're all human. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of people want to put in like $100,000 for a sales price that comes out $1 million. You know what I mean? It just adds extra zeros. Oopsie. So, you look at it and go, I think in all reality, professional courtesy, I guess is the best way to put this. We make mistakes. It could have been not his mistake per se, but it could have just been the system by accident that might have not have added the zero or got them figured, So I don't know about you, but I'd probably try to figure out some way and say, hey, look, sellers, this is not a common situation, but understanding the fact that, this does really not make any sense. Why in the world would they give you the X amount for option and X amount for earnest? And they're out of goodwill. Let's put it that way. Nobody's trying to harm anybody. I think I'd probably try to smooth it over the best I could and see. It's always up to the sellers what they want to do, but I think I'd probably be kind of rooting for them and saying, hey, you know what? It's happened to me before. You know what I mean? It's happened to a lot of people I know. So let's be a little bit more understanding. So, but the text just came up and it said the good news is it's still moving forward, but
Yeah.
what the issue solved was the question. Are they going to leave it the way it is, or are they moving forward the way it is? So
Right.
either way, but that is kind of a
Sorry about that.
oh, yeah. You want me to stop talking? Just tell me to shut up. You don't have to start playing music. I mean, come on now. All right.
Okay. Well, we have now. This is our favorite time of the show by a lot of people. It's Ask Steven. We got some questions.
Boy. Oh boy. Let's see what we got going on today.
Okay. Tanya from Louisville. Is it true that any additional option money goes directly to the seller and not to the title office?
Ooh. All right. Well, when you write a contract, the earnest money and option money go to the where? Title company.
Okay.
But I mean by addition, I'm assuming that they want to extend it. Does that make sense? They probably want to extend the option. All right. So if you are under a bona fide option period and you want to extend it, you would use a amendment paragraph 6, and in the amendment paragraph 6 it does say that you must give money. That's number 1, right? And number 2, where does that go? It already says in the amendment the seller has received the money. So where does it go? To the seller, not to the title companies. Yep, it actually spells it out right there in paragraph 6. Good question, Tanya. What else we got?
Okay, Tina from Blue Ridge. Why are we constantly reminded about the do not call list and how we have to be careful about calling people? And when I get 10 calls or texts a day from solicitors.
Oh, don't we all wish we knew that? All right. Well, the do not call list, if they're on the do not call list, they stay on there for perpetual, right? That means unless they take themselves off, they're on there. The do not call list does have some limitations, though, and exceptions. So if it's a survey, a collection agency, and or a political party, they are actually exempt from the do not call list. They can call you whenever. But that's a great question. Why are you getting calls from solicitors? I'm assuming that you might have went to a website or you might have agreed to a condition through another company that is affiliated with another company, and probably somehow, some way you got in the affiliation program through another program that allows them to call you. What do you think,
And
Jeff?
I've seen, enter your name and your email address for a free lunch or a drawing of this or that. And boy, don't do it.
Next thing you know, you got 28,000 phone calls. Yep. And do not call this. I just want to share this with you. It's not just calling on the phone like hello, it's also texting. So, I've been getting a lot of text messages of you. I think
Oh
every
yeah.
day for healthcare. I got
Yes.
at least three of those today for healthcare. And the reason why they're doing that is because we're NAR members, right? So we're affiliates. So they're gonna sell your number out, and here you guys, or they're gonna give your number out either way, however they get it, and they're gonna start soliciting you at that point in time. So, and home warranties, or
Mm.
I shouldn't say home warranty, I say home service contracts, or even better yet, car warranties. I get a bunch of
Mm.
those too, So it's probably somehow, some way you sign up with an affiliate program that was in the fine print. If you sign this or you answer this or you put your name here, you're also going to get future correspondence, not only from us, but any affiliates that we sell and or give your information to. That's probably how you get it. Best thing to do is block the call. Get spam block, right? Our iPhone has spam on it. Spam block, robo dial, or whatever it's called, robo kill.
Yeah.
Get something like that, and that will definitely help you out.
Good.
All right, got another one.
Yeah. Thank you, Tina.
Yeah,
John
absolutely.
from Georgetown. My
Georgetown.
buyer has Georgetown. My buyer has decided to put less money down now, but the contract has already been signed. Do we need an addendum for this? So it sounds like they've decided to put less money down than the original contract that was accepted.
All right, let me wrap my brain around this question real quick. So my buyer has decided to put less money down now, but the contract has already been signed. So are they assuming it's executed, right? So we're under contract. Do we need a addendum for this? Well, number one, an addendum is attached to an offer. So that wouldn't be an addendum if they wanted to change something. That would be a amendment, right? Because they're under
Amendment.
contract. And then on the flip side of that, the contract calls for money to close. So unless it affects your loan program, and sometimes if you're going FHA and you're changing it from conventional to FHA, you would have to disclose through an amendment that you're changing loan products. And so my mind would say if you're going to change something in the contract, disclose, disclose, disclose. And the contract only really calls for that the contract will close with money, right? So technically speaking, as long as you can close the transaction, the contract's good. But like I said, a lot of loan programs, if you're going to need more down or less down, or you're changing the product, they might charge a fee or something like that. Then you would have to add a amendment to it to change the loan product at that point in time. So, me personally, I would definitely me would probably write the amendment to it just to make everybody informed on what's going on, so it's not misrepresentation somehow. I always say this: I'd rather over disclose than under disclose,
Yeah.
and that's just keeping everybody in the loop. You know what I mean? You don't want somebody to be like, "Oh, well, why didn't you tell me?" So you might as well be upfront and forward with them, and less down payment. That's might not affect the loan at all, to be completely honest with you. In fact, some loan programs don't require a lot of money down, and you're getting a better loan program. I'll give you an example. I've seen it to where somebody will get qualified for conventional, and they're going down, 10, 15% down, but then they get a better offer with an FHA loan because you're getting better, interest rate. So then, of course, you wouldn't have as much money to put down with an FHA, right? You only need 3.5% down. So, can it happen? Yeah, of course it can happen, right? But I always say I'd rather disclose than not. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I. It's always better to disclose if the down payment changes and doesn't affect the loan. I've not amended that before, but if it changes from conventional to FHA or anything like that, I absolutely, because that changes the whole requirements for the buyer and the property, and yeah, definitely. But
Yeah,
I would recommend an amendment for all of it, honestly.
I'd rather just be safer than sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want any, after reading all these violations we read all the
Mm.
time.
Yeah.
I read back on those and go, I'd rather over disclose than under disclose because I mean, there's people getting fines out there that you would never even think possible. So for compliance issues, that makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Kayla from Gainesville. Uh, some lenders don't want a non-realty addendum with a dollar amount. What's the best way to handle this?
So if you're selling a property and there's non-realty items like a dish, like a wash machine or something like that, that what they're referring to? Okay.
Yep,
Yeah, a lot of
refrigerator.
times.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, if you're writing an offer, and you get it under contract with the non-realty item addendum, and you put a dollar amount in there, the reason why they don't want that is because that would combine along with what it would have to appraise for. We actually had a situation like that to where is a while back. It was in Granbury where the house they were selling the house and about half the furniture with it, and they put a actual price on half the furniture, which was about $15,000 at that time. Well, the problem was the lender said we don't want that on the non-realty item addendum because the house needs to appraise plus whatever's added to that offer. You see what I mean? Plus what's added to that contract. And so I've also seen it to where if you do a non-realty item addendum and like, let's say for instance, you put 0 for a refrigerator. Well, there's got to be a price, right? Because it says for consideration. So, or somebody will say $1. Well, they'll actually go into and kind of research and say, hey, because you identify what the refrigerator is and the model and stuff. I've seen them actually go in, do research on a used item and see what it actually costs too. So, see what I mean? So, yeah, it could go all kinds of different directions. And so it depends on what kind of loan program you have. It depends on, the whole situation, but I'm just giving you worst case scenarios. So a lot of times if it's just a non-realty item addendum, like just one item, like a couch, it might make better sense just to sell it outside the closing. The title company can handle a bill of sale. We can't write bills of sale, right? Because, that's basically attorneys write the bill of sales. But if they want to go through the contract, like we've had to do in Farm and Ranch, I'm sure you have too, Jeff, right? When you add like a Ranger or a truck or something, it has to go through the escrow as a bill of sale. Or they can just downright say, hey, give me $1,000 for that and write them a receipt. You know what I mean? So either way they want to handle it would probably be better outside of the scope of putting it within the contract.
And there's another reason to keep that outside the scope of the transaction, because a transaction can go south real quick when people are bickering back and forth about the plow and the pieces of the tractor that shouldn't be worth that, or that going back and forth. If you can push that outside the transaction, it'll be better, I think.
Well, everybody seems to think their personal assets are worth more than they are.
Yeah.
I mean, and why should that stop $1 million transaction over a $5,000 lawnmower? Does that make sense? So sometimes it might be better to say, hey, you guys worry about that part. We'll worry about the real estate part. And you guys hash that out. So yeah,
yep.
We've had to do that a few times in farm and ranch transactions. So.
Yeah.
All right, we got any more?
Yeah, we got one more.
All right,
RJ
cool.
from Denton.
RJ.
Yeah.
All right.
So RJ's thinking about putting my license on hold. Can I still give referrals to another agent and get paid for it? Good question.
Okay, so he wants to put it in inactive. Is that what he's talking about?
Yeah, I mean, some agents call it putting it on ice. Just kind of putting their license on hold.
Okay, all right. Well, here's the deal: if it goes inactive, you can't do real estate. That's the whole thing, right? You have to have a broker sponsor you if you're a salesperson, and even if you're a broker, if you go inactive, you still can't do any real estate. You have an inactive license, and you still cannot get referrals. So anything real estate related or has to do with real estate, you got to have an active license. Now, there is a choice, though. Let's talk about that. Just because you don't want to be involved in, let's say, a brokerage that is part of the MLS and pay all the fees, because that's a lot of times why they want to go inactive, because they don't want to have to pay all the fees, right? Desk fees. They don't want to have to pay the MLS and so on. There is an opportunity. It's called a LIFRO agent. Well, basically, all that is a referral agent. And so you can keep your license active under a brokerage that has a LIFRO company. And so that broker can just have agents that work for them, but all they can do is referrals. So you can still get a 25 or 30% referral, whatever you agree upon what the referral fee is going to be. And a lot of times that's not a bad idea to do, because I've heard people go inactive, like, oh man, I just want to go inactive for a little while. Next thing they know, they run into a friend of theirs that wants to buy a house. They want to refer their friend to somebody, and guess what? They can't get a referral fee. So you never know when business is going to hit, right? So if you can save money on transaction, on fees for transaction fees and or MLS and or desk fees, and you're only paying, let's say, a flat fee of $100 a year to keep your license active, and you're going to do referrals, and you refer somebody out business, and that's a possibility of making a $5,000 referral. Why wouldn't you do that? So, and another thing too, going in active, when you go back active again, you still got to do your continuing education classes, right? Because you got to keep on doing those.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have your continuing education classes up to date, you got to do the ones that are required before you get sponsored. And then you also still got to pay a fee to keep it inactive. You know what I mean? So you're looking at it going, why would you want to just throw money down the drain and work so hard for your license when you just put it with basically a referral company that will charge you very minimal, and it's very minimal, fees a year to keep it active, and one referral can make all the money that you spent to keep that license. So it just makes sense to me to probably not do that, but it's up to them what they want to do. So there's your choices when it comes to inactive.
Yeah, I think it's important that they know they have a choice. And like you said, I mean, why not? You're going to run into business.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I can't tell you how many times that when you least expect it, somebody wants to buy or lease a house. You know what I mean? And so why tie your hands? If somebody's going to refer me a $600,000 house, I'm getting 25% referral fee. I'm in. So why miss out on that opportunity? And there are some companies out there that have them. You know what I mean? There's certain companies out there that, they have a brokerage that are part of the MLS and NAR members and so on. And then there's other parts of the company that all they are is LIFRO agents. So there is opportunity out there for you. And then once you maybe start making some money again, or maybe possibly start getting more clientele, you can always switch over too. And that's a good opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. So. In fact, let us know if you guys have any questions about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Move forward.
Yeah.
Well.
I was like, what is he hearing? What just happened? All right. So what do we got up next, Jeff?
Well, that agent spotlight has been a gap that we have not filled the last few shows, but we haven't been getting any spotlight nominations.
We need to get some spotlight nominations. That's all I got to say. We need to start getting some good ones in there. Like we said, it could be an agent, it could be an inspector, it could be another agent you work with. So we need to get a spotlight. What do you think?
Well, you know what? Why not mention something about what Fidelity had a big hit this week.
Yeah, they did.
This week.
Yeah, they did.
And
that was a big one. Remember that shut down their whole email system for a while. Yeah. That was getting pretty scary there. People were trying to close and they couldn't close because the whole system got, I think, a security breach on it.
We got hit here in the Southwest, and they're back up, but the folks up Northwest, they're still down.
It was the whole nation.
Well, yeah, a whole nation was hit, but Northwest is still down.
Wow. I thought it was just in our region. I didn't know it was the whole nation.
Oh, yeah. Nationwide.
So they're back up and running. I mean, we just, I know for a fact that We closed an escrow the other day, and the escrow agent that helped us pulled through pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah,
Jenny at Chicago Title did a great job. So let's spotlight her. How about that?
yep, that's
Jenny at
where I was
Chicago
going.
Title. There you guys go,
Yeah,
right there. I was
yeah.
looking at it, thinking to myself, "Where's Jeff going with this?" And all of a sudden, because
Yeah.
all those escrow agents, I'm going to spotlight them all because anybody that can go from a computer to not having a computer to making a closing happen overnight is absolutely amazing. That's all I got to say. And I know Jenny did a great job with your closing, and she pulled it
Yeah, she
together.
did.
And
And
people
she
people
broke
are
out
worried.
the she broke out the abacus, and I mean she did everything manual.
That's That's awesome, and that's a good agent right there. Think about that. If you can go
Yeah.
back to the Stone Age to figure out how to do a closing and get it done on time, it was on time, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
It was on
Oh
time.
yeah.
Everybody came in and closed. It went in a smooth transaction. Now it was probably smooth for us, but not for her. But that's amazing. That those are the kind of people we want to work with right there.
Right.
When something goes wrong, you figure out how to make it happen. So Jenny at Chicago Title, good job.
Yeah. In
Absolutely.
fact, she might be coming up on as one of our guests here in the next few weeks.
Oh, cool.
She. So anyway, we'll let you know.
Awesome. We'll actually say thank you to her when she gets on here. How about that?
There you go.
Maybe give her a free shirt.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh, that's right.
see,
Yeah.
spotlight's not just a spotlight. You get cool stuff too.
Why don't you show your little ramble? There we go.
Huh? Who wouldn't
Yeah.
want one of these? Huh? Trying to move my head right so I can see it. But yep, see, there you go, right there. Who wouldn't want
There
one of
she,
those?
there she is.
Hmm. There it is. All right.
Well,
Well, if you want or of somebody that is worthy of being spotlight on the show, please give us a call at 940-230-2899, or you can always go to realestateramble@gmail.com. Send us an email, send us a phone call, tell us who to spotlight, give us a little reason why you want them spotlighted, and they'll show up on the show. We'll mention them, and they might even have a chance to win a Ramble shirt. Huh? How about that? Who doesn't want one of those? You're on mute.
be the first in your neighborhood with a
That's
real
right.
estate ramble shirt.
That's exactly right.
You've spent
All right.
you've spent too much time on Zoom to know that I was on mute.
Oh yeah, I'm really good at reading lips. Trust me, that's going to be my new. That's like my new talent. You can sit here all day and talk, and I know exactly what you're saying. It's funny. All right,
Well,
Jeff. Anything else we got, or we're going to call it good for the night?
yeah, we're calling it good. That is a wrap.
That is a wrap. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. We had actually really good information tonight. That was, I love the part where you went on to the TR website and showed people that there are some great benefits. I think a lot of people overlook that, and were to find some answers to some questions that I think are pretty routine, everyday
Yeah.
questions. So great job, Jeff. And those violations were a little scary too.
Mm, too close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too close. All right. Well, we will see you next week on Thursday this time. So Jeff doesn't have to fake a voice at 6 o'clock next Thursday. See you then. Have a great night.
All right. Thank you.